Hey, how's it going? Today, Friday, April 5th, 2024. I cannot believe it's already April. To me, it just feels like the new year just happened. Really great to talk to you today about what I think is a really interesting topic. And I think it's a topic that is much more controversial than you're going to understand without this discussion. And let me explain it to you because I've been thinking deeply about this for the last couple of weeks and looking at the people that have been joining to come to this session and comparing it to other sessions. And I think there's some telling results in that. So, we're talking about social responsibility for a company, and we're talking about it in terms of leadership and to be conscientious about how we go about our business in business to be able to protect a wide range of comprehensive things in the world. Obviously, the green piece is critical. We need to protect our environment. And I think a business, you would agree, has a responsibility to do that. But it goes beyond just that because you can't just carve out one narrow area where you're going to be conscientious and not consider the implications of how that resonates with the public and your own staff and customer base versus everything else that you're doing. So I'm going to kind of bring it back to some of the risks involved in where we go with this and what this means. So being socially responsible as a company, does that just mean that I make very sure of my travel and make very sure that we don't drive everywhere and fly everywhere and destroy the environment that way? Does it mean that we send our staff out to clean the highways? What does it mean? What exactly does that mean? And what level should we participate in that? And really, how much effect are we going to have? So let's start with the effect we're going to have. I believe that through business, the value system and the integrity of the world is established because through business we do so many transactions on a daily basis. If you compare what you do in a bartering, in an acquisition, when you're going to the store to buy something transactional, you'll see that your transactions on a daily basis exceed almost anything else you do, which means that you're constantly interacting with business. So how a business relates to you as an individual is going to certainly set in motion some rules of the road, some ways that the world is desiring to perform. If I go to a fast food restaurant and they don't get my order right and they don't care when I walk in, then they're saying something very strong. They're saying that, look, we can be successful without even listening to you. And if that's the case, then that's setting a negative path of integrity out into the world. And they're repeating it over and over and over and over in billions of transactions throughout the world. So if you just use that as an example, you're going to see that the idea of how a business relates to their public absolutely affects the integrity and the conscientiousness that each of us live by. So yes, a business does have a responsibility, but I also want to tell you my own experience. Look, I've been around a long, long time, and I've worked in a wide range of leadership environments. I've worked individually as an entrepreneur. I've worked for boards. I've worked for founders. I've worked for international companies mostly, and I've I've just worked in a wide range of public and private companies. So I see what truly goes on kind of behind the scenes. And let me share that with you. Because I believe that the first idea for any business is not about being socially responsible. Sorry to say that, but unfortunately, my own experience and bouncing it off of these things that I just said is that a business is thinking about singularly making money. That's what a business does. It thinks about making money, and it tries to do it with the least amount of expense that they can get away with, the least amount of contribution that they can give. Now, look, there are examples that differ from that, but I will tell you that the majority of businesses, when you talk to a private equity firm, they never are talking to me about make sure I protect the environment, make sure that I'm socially conscientious, and make sure that I have the best and richest environment for my employees, unless it can turn back into making money. But to prove that point, I will tell you this, that when I turn in my quarterly reports, the thing I'm looking for or I'm being asked to do or to perform is a number. It is not a behavior. It is not anything like that. And I'll give you some examples. Companies have carved out a portion of their profitability, but these are only profitable companies for the community. And they do many good things with that money. Take a look at Bill Gates and what he gives back. Bezos, what they give back to their community, to the world in terms of helping and assisting. But remember something, those companies are already successful. And none of those companies started their business, I assure you, thinking about being socially responsible. They thought about making money. And at the point that they began to store that money, and they were able to conveniently look at it as what to do with it, they looked at those as resources and said, here's what we can do to contribute. Now, that's a great thing. It's great that they're not saying, I'm just going to put it in my shareholders' pockets only. I'm going to give it back. But the key there is they're already making money. So if I'm young and I'm coming into the world of business and I plan to have a role in leadership in my career, I have to understand that table stakes are you have to make a business successful financially. And then through that success, you can then spend the money that you make in a conscientious way. But there are things that you can do within the context of your business that can both make money and help you. I'm going to give you an example that I lived with. Years ago, we're doing international business and we're finding ourselves successful in developing countries and global markets throughout the world selling technology. And in what we were doing, it was a mission critical technology for large contact center businesses. So you had hundreds, if not thousands, of employees, many layers of management, and it was a perfect and rich environment to train people and to improve a local economy. So what we did as we moved into new areas, knowing that we needed to be financially successful, is we began by starting a foundation called Commerce for Peace and Prosperity. And we believe that if we could increase entrepreneurs, increase small to medium business, that within the sector that we were working in, that it would bear good fruit for that environment. It would plant the seeds of middle class everywhere we went, and that would even out the society and the safety of that community. But at the same time, they could buy from us. So we saw it that way. So what we did is we went into these communities, got with the governments, and came up with programs that we established to give away education and contact centers, giving away business, education, and the tools necessary at no cost to establish this industry within their uh, communities at no cost. We did it through our foundation, and the bet on that was two things. One, that we could afford it, and we could afford it because it would turn into money. And two, because it would, as I said, plant the seeds of growth and middle class for communities that otherwise didn't have them. Now that worked effectively, but imagine me going to my board of directors and my private equity partners and saying, we need to start this organization, invest in it, hire people to manage it, and none of that piece in directly is going to bring cash. It's actually going to be cash out. So I had to game the system. So we did it quietly at first. And as a leader, my conscientiousness was to stick with what I believed in, but to do it in a fairly safe and pilot way so that it was non-disruptive and could prove the point. And we did it. And inevitably, we opened up great markets and contributed to the economies of Guatemala, Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, in India, in Pakistan, in the Middle East. And it was really very powerful, but it was very difficult to convince the people, the financial people behind us to do that. Now, that's one thing. Here's another thing that we actually do at our company at NobleBiz. Our HR department is really comprehensive, and they layer in lots of activity to engage our staff on many layers, on layers of our employment community, meaning that we're all over the world, and how we connect and learn about each other's environment and culture, to what we do locally that can be consistent throughout that entire group, such as planting. So we plant flowers in the springtime, and we plant our gardens, and we do it individually, and we take photos of it, and we share those photos with the entire group. And just that alone doesn't cost money. It connects you with the environment. The planting that you do improves oxygen, it cleans the air, it improves the potential for that environment, and may plant the seeds for their neighbors and their neighbors to do something. We know that every holiday, companies come through with giving, and they pick holidays to do it. All of them do that because they can afford to do it, not necessarily because they're the most warm-hearted people, let's be honest. So in that, here's an example. We take on a family at NobleBiz, and we say, instead of just in this single moment of time, meaning the holiday, we're going to stay with this family throughout the year. But to do that is going to require more than us. It's going to require our community and all the people that are aware of us to contribute. And initially, everybody does it. Inevitably, people stop doing it. And why did they stop doing it? Because being socially conscious is often good intentions, and often we feel defeated by, in fact, the real world that we live in. The one that says that when I was out driving yesterday, and this actually happened, that in front of me, as somebody took off from a stoplight, they opened their window and threw out bags of fast food trash. The good news was, before I could pull over, and when I did to go back, somebody else had already done it and picked it up. So there's the bad and the good, and you can't let the bad destroy the good. But being a socially conscientious leader does require you to build a successful and financially strong organization, and then layer in the use of those funds in a way like we did with Commerce for Peace that brings value into the company and extends beyond the company. But it also means everything. It's not one thing. It's how do I treat my employees? How do I treat my customers? How do I treat my environment? How do I treat everything within my rule set? The rule set that says I need to be ethical and responsible. Now, I'm going to leave you with something that I think was very disappointing to me. So when I come out with my podcast and there is a fear piece written into it, the oh my gosh, I'll get 100 or more people signed up for it. Today, with this, the path to social responsibility and environmental integrity, I got about 50. So I got about half of what I usually get from one week to the next. So we have to be honest about it, that the topic doesn't resonate with everybody evenly. People like to react to the problem, not necessarily the benefit. And you have to recognize that you can't let that stop you from always wanting to do the next right thing. So with that in mind, I'm going to end this. I don't want to overdo it, but I want to say to you, individually be responsible. As a manager, think comprehensively about how every action you take is an action that contributes or degrades the environment that we live in. Recognize that using less paper is better. Planting green is good. Less travel when you're capable of doing it can help the environment, but you have to find a way to do that without hurting your business, because at the baseline of everything, you have to make money, but make money with integrity. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I look forward to talking to you in the weeks to come. You take care. Bye-bye.